my life's work is to combat isolation by cultivating connectedness. At its root, that depends on the understanding that every person matters. Education is indispensable in this effort and can be both an end and a means. For as long as I can remember, I have dreamed of being a teacher. Even as our topic is how to deepen inclusion for marginalized communities around the world, I try with my students to create a community and a deep feeling of connectedness among us.
What I'm going to do is just tell you a very personal story of my education, where it started, and I'm going to take you on a journey through paintings. It was this whole idea of the world being connected. This is the man who created the Italian Renaissance, and his philosophy was a philosophy of wholeness and of unity. Let me just read you one little thing from Ficino. Some people will acknowledge that there's life in the lowest animals and the smallest plants, but they do not see that the whole in which we live and move and have our being is itself alive. One of his students was Botticelli, and this has got to be one of the most famous paintings of all. Primavera, spring, the rebirth of knowledge. What Botticelli was really trying to depict here was Ficino's philosophy, that you cannot understand things in isolation. When you are doing all of your studies, don't forget the instinct, don't forget the intuition, don't forget your imagination and the power of it. That's the thing that will make the great difference in the world.
I think we have to move beyond this teacher role into something a bit more enlightened in terms of informing but asking good questions. So we need learning to be inquiry-based. Asking questions, asking children to ask questions, and then asking, what does that mean? What is this telling us? What I'm excited by is the leadership of young people. We need to help young people to develop a vision of what they want to see. And if we do that, and we give them opportunities to develop that, then it could happen.
How are we actually measuring success? So I want to talk about something called citizen-led assessments. What this is a brand new way of looking at measuring learning outcomes. So what they do, which is very different from all other assessments, one is that they're done in the household. What does that mean? First of all, in the developing world, not every child is going to school. Attendance rates are sometimes very low. Children in rural areas are not going to school. Diverse learners, children with special needs, intellectual disabilities, they're obviously shunned away from school, right? So we're not getting that in the classroom setting. Going through households, you're able to look at a much grander, much larger observation pool. The goal of this is kind of cyclical of saying, okay, as citizens, as community, you're going to figure out if your children are learning. We're then going to go through and do all the fun stats part of it, and then we're going to give it back to you. And we're going to say, what do we think is missing? What do you think is missing? Where do you think that you could get involved? How do you get involved? The real question is simply, are our children learning, and what are we doing to make sure that these outcomes improve?
How do you get groups and individuals to care, implement, and move on the ideas, values, methodologies, and research that you're bringing to the world, to your field, and to education?
I always saw, community engagement as a key part of connectedness, and from a development perspective, right, it's the root of so many problems, right? And if you maybe fix a root, then maybe you fix, greater problems. If you tug on one string, a bunch of other things will fall.
Just my experience of introducing lots of quite complicated ideas, in radio and television programs. You have to bring the person that you're talking to into the story. So the more personal I can make it, the better. So wisdom is not to be found in books. Wisdom is to be found in action.
Learning has to be a journey or a story, and at the end of it, there has to be an outcome that the children are involved with. Feel, imagine, do, share. Feel what bothers you, imagine what you can do it, and share your story. And it's incredible what the children come up with.
We need to be part of an education that prepares young people to live purposefully, creatively, and morally in a complex world. When we nurture creativity and connection, when we create dialogue and learning opportunity grounded in respect, recognition, and reciprocity, we empower young people to lead in building a more connected and compassionate future beyond the classroom, too.